Today, we're going to read a famous story called The Woman's Ghost Story. It was written by Algernon Blackwood, a great English master of ghost stories and mystery. This version is adapted for learners of English. It is a story about a brave woman, an empty house, and a secret that only a ghost can tell. "Yes," she said from her seat in the dark corner. "I will tell you about my experience if you want to listen. I will tell it briefly, without unnecessary details. Storytellers usually include too many things, but I will give you only the important parts. You can think what you want about it, but I have one condition. At the end, you must ask no questions. I cannot explain it, and I don't want to." We agreed. We were all serious. We were tired of listening to many long, boring stories from people who just wanted to talk. We wanted the essentials, the real facts. "In those days," she began, "I was interested in ghosts and psychic things. I arranged to stay alone for one night in a haunted house in the middle of London. It was a cheap and dirty house. I had the keys in my pocket. I got them from the caretaker who lived next door. There was a story about a murder in that house. I won't tell you all the boring details about the woman's death. It is enough to say that the house felt alive and scary. I arrived at 11 p.m. I wanted to be alone, so I was bored to see a man waiting for me on the steps. I thought he was the caretaker. I had already explained to him that I wanted to be there by myself. "I want to show you the room," he said quietly. I couldn't say no because I had paid him to borrow a chair and a table. "Come in then, and let's be quick," I said. We went in. He walked behind me through the dark hall to the first floor. This was the place where the murder happened. I planned to listen to his story, give him some money, and then send him away. I lit the gas light and sat down in the armchair. It was an old brown chair. I turned to look at him for the first time. In that second, I got a shock. The man was not the caretaker. He was not the old man, Carey, who I met earlier that day. My heart jumped with fear. "Who are you?" I said. "You are not Carey. Who are you?" I felt very uncomfortable. I was a psychical researcher and a modern young woman. I was proud of my freedom, but I did not want to be in an empty house with a stranger. I lost my confidence. My courage went away, and I felt very afraid. "Who are you?" I repeated quickly and nervously. The man was well-dressed, young and handsome, but his face looked very sad. I was about 30 years old then. I am telling you this because it is important. This story comes from ordinary things. "No," he said, "I am the man who was frightened to death." His voice and his words felt like a knife. I felt very weak. In my pocket, I had a notebook to write notes. I felt the pencil and my warm clothes. 100 silly thoughts went through my mind because I was so scared. I thought about what the newspapers would say, or what my brother-in-law would think of me. "The man who was frightened to death?" I repeated, shocked. "That's me," he said. I stared at him. I felt my life moving like a hot liquid inside me. Don't laugh. That is how I felt. When you feel real terror, small things become very important. My ideas were very ordinary, but I was shaking with fear. "But I thought you were the caretaker," I said, gasping for air. "Did Carey send you to meet me?" "No," he replied. His voice was very strange and deep. "I told you, I am the man who was frightened to death. And what is more, I am frightened now." "So am I," I said. "I am terrified." "Yes," he replied in that same odd voice, "but you are still a living person, and I am not." I felt that I had to be strong. I stood up in that empty, dark room. I pressed my hands together and tried to be brave. I was a modern woman and a researcher. I didn't want to show my fear. "You mean you are not alive?" I asked. "What are you talking about?" Silence filled the room. For the first time, I realized how dark it was. I was alone in a haunted house, and no one was there to help me. I felt very cold. I thought about the police, the city buses, and my comfortable home. I realized I was a fool to come here alone. I was not brave enough for this. "If you are not Carrie, who are you?" I asked again. I was stiff with terror. The man moved slowly toward me across the empty room. I held out my arm to stop him and stood up. He stopped in front of me with a sad smile on his face. "I told you who I am," he repeated quietly. He looked at me with the saddest eyes I have ever seen, and I am still frightened. Now I was sure the man was either a criminal or a madman. I was angry at myself for being so stupid. I forgot about ghosts. I only wanted to save my life. I decided to be nice to him until I could reach the door and run to the street. I was a strong woman. I played hockey and climbed mountains, but I had no weapon to protect myself. "Now I remember," I said with a fake smile. "I remember your story and how brave you were." The man stared at me. I started walking backward toward the door. When he smiled again, I couldn't control myself. I ran out of the room. In my panic, I went the wrong way. I ran up the stairs to the next floor instead of going down to the street. I was sure the man was following me, though I heard no footsteps. I ran up the dark stairs, hit my ribs against the wall, and rushed into the first room I saw. Luckily, the door was open, and there was a key. I slammed the door, pushed it with my whole weight, and turned the key quickly. I was safe behind the door, but my heart was beating like a drum. A second later, it stopped. I saw that I was not alone in the room. A man was standing by the window. The light from the street lamps showed his shape against the glass. I am a brave woman, and I didn't give up hope, but I was more terrified than ever before. I had locked myself in the room with him. The man leaned against the window and watched me. I sat on the floor, weak with fear. I thought, are there two men in this house? Are there others in other rooms? But then something changed. My fear changed too. It was no longer just a fear of a stranger. It was a fear of something supernatural. I knew immediately who this man was. "How did you get up here?" I asked quietly. My surprise was so great that for a moment I forgot to be afraid. "Let me tell you," he began in that strange, faraway voice. "I am in a different space now. You would find me in any room you entered. In your world, space is physical, but I am out of my body. I stay here because of my condition. I want someone to change it for me so I can leave. I need sympathy. No, I need more than that. I need love." While he spoke, I slowly stood up. I wanted to scream, cry, and laugh at the same time, but I only sighed. I was exhausted. I looked for matches in my pocket to light the gas lamp. "Please don't light the gas," he said quickly. "The light hurts me. Do not be afraid. I cannot hurt your body. There is a great wall between us. This dark light is better for me. Many people have come to this house to see me. All of them were terrified. If only someone were not afraid, if someone were kind and loving to me, I could change and leave this place." His voice was so sad that I wanted to cry, but I was still shaking and cold. "Who are you? I know Carrie didn't send you," I said. I couldn't think clearly. I was afraid I might faint. "I don't know who Carrie is," the man continued quietly. I have forgotten my real name, but I am the man who was frightened to death in this house 10 years ago. I have been frightened ever since. People come here because they are curious or cruel. They want to see a ghost, and their terror keeps me here. If only someone would be kind to me. If someone would laugh, speak gently, or comfort me, anything except trembling in the corner like you are doing now. Please, madam, have pity on me." His voice became a loud, sad cry. "Will you come to the middle of the room and try to love me a little?" I wanted to laugh a horrible laugh, but I felt sorry for him too. I moved away from the wall and walked toward the center of the room. "Thank God," he cried, standing up by the window. "You were being kind to me. This is the first time anyone has shown me sympathy since I died. I feel better already. In my life, I hated people, and they hated me back. I had terrible dreams, and one night I saw demons near my bed. The fear was so great that it stopped my heart and killed me. My hate and my fear keep me here, but if someone feels pity and love for me, I can leave and be happy. I watched you this afternoon, and for the first time I had hope. I saw that you were brave and had love in your heart." My heart began to ache. My fear was going away, and I felt sorry for him. The situation was like a wild dream or a nightmare. I couldn't think about escaping anymore. I could only listen to his words. I moved a little closer to him in the dark. I was still frightened, but I wanted to be brave. "You women have so much love to give," he continued. His voice sounded excited because I was coming closer. "If you only knew how many souls need your love, you could save us. Please be kind and gentle. Try to love me a little." My heart jumped and I started to cry. I also laughed a little because it sounded so strange when he called me madam in that empty room at midnight. But my laughter stopped when I saw him move. He left the window and knelt on the floor at my feet. He stretched out his hands toward me, and I saw a strange light around his head. "Put your arms around me and kiss me for the love of God," he cried. "Kiss me and I will be free. You have done so much. Now do this one last thing." I stood there, shaking. I was almost ready to do it, but I was still hesitating. However, the terror was almost gone. "Forget that I am a man and you are a woman," he said in a begging voice. "Forget that I am a ghost. Be brave for just 1 minute. Love me and I shall be free." His words touched something deep inside me. I felt a very strong emotion, much stronger than fear. This feeling pushed me to act. Without waiting, I took 2 steps toward him and held out my arms. At that moment, I felt real pity and real love in my heart. I forgot my own fear because I wanted to help another soul. "I love you, you poor, unhappy thing. I love you," I cried through my tears, "and I am not afraid anymore." The man made a strange sound, like a laugh. He looked up at me. His face was shining with a strange light. He stood up, and I held him close to my heart. I kissed him again and again. The storyteller paused for a moment to calm her voice. We all sat in silence in the dark room. How can I describe that feeling? It was like holding something that you cannot touch, yet it pressed against my body. It was like a cold wind and a burning fire at the same time. I felt a great shock of sweetness and wonder through my whole body. My heart gave a big jump, and then I was alone. The room was empty. I lit the gas lamp to be sure. All my fear was gone. I felt as happy as a spring morning. No ghosts or shadows could frighten me now. I unlocked the door and walked through the whole dark house, from the kitchen to the attic, but the house was empty. The something was gone. I stayed for 1 hour to think, and then I went home to my own flat. I locked the door of the house behind me. It was not haunted anymore. Later, my uncle Sir Henry, who owned the house, asked me about my night, but before I could speak, he stopped me. "First," he said, "I must tell you the truth. I played a little trick on you. So many people have seen a ghost in that house that I thought it was just their imagination. So I told you a fake story about a woman's murder to see what would happen." "So the story about the murder was not true?" I asked. "No," he replied. "The true story is that a cousin of mine went mad in that house. He lived in fear for many years and finally died because of a terrible heart attack caused by terror. It is his ghost that people see." "That explains it then," I whispered. "Explains what?" my uncle asked. I thought of that poor soul who wanted to escape for so many years. I decided to keep my secret for now. "It explains," I said, "why I did not see the ghost of the murdered woman." "Exactly," said Sir Henry, "and it proves that if you had seen anything, it would be real and not just your imagination."